welcome back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's very special episode, I have the owner of Crestcom, Nebraska. I have James Mackiewicz on the show with me today. James, how we doing?
Great. It's just another cold day in Nebraska.
It's super cold.
and I love it. So I knew what I was getting into when I said I was going to be a lifelong Nebraskan. So
it's one of those things. I'm a Nebraskan guy as well, and born and raised here mostly, and I still hate the cold. I still can't get over it. So you're not alone. But for our listeners at home who may not have had a chance to meet you yet in person or hear about Crestcom Nebraska, what is Crestcom Nebraska, and what do you offer for your clients?
So Crestcom is a leadership development program that's been around for close to 40 years. We're an international company. We're in 60 countries.
Wow.
We present in 22 different languages. And so I've bought the rights to do that program in Nebraska.
That's awesome.
It's world-class leadership development brought to us locally through a local person. So
yeah, I love that. I mean, taking that big, vast amount of knowledge and being able to funnel that down to a tangible source right here in Nebraska is amazing for business owners and leadership development here in this great city of ours. But for our listeners as well, what leadership development training what is it really? Because people kind of throw that word around and then they kind of go into their very generic soapbox speeches. But I know Crestcom's not really like that. So I wanted you to kind of have this time to let people know what it really is.
I feel like you might be a stalker because I say this, because you'll hear there's leadership development, there's executive coaching, there's consulting, there's a place for all of that. What we do is we take 12 skills that CEOs for decades have told us they want their people to be good at.
Yeah.
We've blended them together. We've put them into specific 2-hour modules. So when you sign up with us for a year-long program, you know exactly what 24 2-hour classes you're getting and what your toolbox is going to look like once we're done. So that's
awesome.
Yeah, it's a defined program, which is a little bit different than some of the people that have a lot of corporate experience or they're really good at a thing, and so they focus on that thing, and that's great. I would say I'm good at trivia night. I've got a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things.
I'm with you.
And so the program we have takes 24 subject matter experts, and we take their information that are really narrow and really deep, and we put those people into 2-hour classes so we can facilitate that material.
I love it. Yeah, take that vast wealth of information and really boil it down to something that people can really digest and really actually utilize. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on the trivia night thing. I'm, former life ago, I was a radio DJ, so I've got
I can tell
so much. I've got the face too, but I've got so much useless trivia to my brain. I tell people if I could really remove it and actually add better things in, I would, but I think it's just stuck there now.
It's the curse we live with.
It is. It really is. Now, of course, when Crestcom is doing its leadership development training, obviously it's not just the plain Jane. You're developing a full-on program for people. What are some of the benefits that training can actually do for people and for businesses? So,
one, think about anybody who's at the top of their game. Think about any sports analogy. Think about any amazing person in business. Think about even what Joe Rogan said recently, right?
Yeah.
You might have been telling me about this. It wasn't you, but it was somebody else. I'll share this. I'll drop this.
Yeah, please.
On you. They are continuously improving. Patrick Mahomes is going for his 3rd Super Bowl. I bet you he's got 5 different coaches helping him out and making sure that he's the best quarterback he can be. Even though you're at the top of your game, you still have to do things to keep there. And so that's what we do.
I love that.
We don't expect anybody to come in. Like, communication is one of our core skills. Communication, we hit communication a lot. People have to communicate. That's how you sell. That's how you get your point across. That's how you get things done. And we still go back. We still give you a different spin on that. So you have other ways to communicate better. And that's one of the cool things about our program. It's not saying you're starting from 0 and we're moving you to 1. We're saying you're starting at 5, we're moving you to 10.
I love that.
We're going on. The piece about Joe Rogan, and I apologize for attributing this.
No, you're good.
Here we go.
Please.
And dude's a great entertainer. He's a great host of shows. Somebody said, hey, if you go back in time, what's the one thing you'd change? And he said, I would have gotten myself a life coach way in the beginning. Somebody to tell me what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, to keep me on track. And again, as there are different types of coaching, leadership development, we all need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I've got people that help me. I help a lot of other people. And that's what we try and do with this program. We give you the base and the tools that you need to actually be able to implement those back in the work and personal life.
That's fantastic, because I kind of had the analogy of iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
Kind of deal.
Somebody said that yesterday, actually.
Yeah, I love that. And so very, very cool idea and ideology that Crestcom has funneling right here in our back door to Nebraska. Now, great question for you is, are there certain industries that can kind of capitalize on this more so than others, or is this geared for specific industries as it sets?
So I come at this a different way, Norman. Generally, traditional retail and food service is not what we target. It's very bottom-heavy frontline workers, generally a lot of turnover, a lot of, hey, I need the skill to do the thing. Now, can we help the general managers, the regional managers? Yes, but they generally have programs in place that help with their specific things. Once you break a certain high number of employees in a company, well, then it becomes a little more difficult, because generally you've got your own learning and organizational development people. And we've got stuff, it's great addition to what you're doing. I'm never going to tell you how to run an insurance agency, right? But I can tell you how to be a better manager and leader of people.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of times synergy, but once you've got people on staff, it's tough to bring us in to supplement and do that. I'm running a class coming up, one of my in-person classes. And in that class, there's somebody from the print industry. There's somebody from a manufacturing plant. There are attorneys. There are some nonprofit people, all in the same class together. Because the base of what we do is universal. Managing people, leading people, getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it is something we all need to work on. And so it's fun that I get to have this mix of people and mix of industries.
I love that, because again, I wanted to kind of open that door for the listeners to kind of get a grasp on, it is approachable. It's not this closed gate method. You can really reach out and have that conversation with you. Now, a laundry list of topics to go into these development programs that are offered through Crestcom Nebraska here. I'd love to kind of pick your brain on some of them. That are kind of, I want to know more so maybe things that you consider maybe get looked over, or maybe just ones that sometimes get underutilized, in your opinion.
I think one of the things that, again, underutilized, overlooked, I had somebody recently say, hey, could we take a look at your 24 classes and could we pick 12 of them and basically do a 6-month version? And so I had to come back and say, hey, again, sports analogy, pick a thing. I actually have somebody that graduated from one of our classes. He came to me after one of the modules, and it was the delegation module. Is what it was. And he said, you know what? I wasn't excited about this. I get paid to delegate. I get incented to delegate. I'm really good at delegating. I'm like, okay.
Great.
Thank you. Glad I wasted 2 hours of your time. And he said, but the tool that we took away from at the end of that's going to up my delegation game. I've made copies of it. I put it on my short stack of go-to tools, and that's going to make me money and pay for this entire class. I was like, okay. Hey. So that's something that gets overlooked. Is the whole I already know how to do this thing. I see something on personality styles, emotional intelligence, understanding the mechanics of the business, whatever it is. You can learn from another person. You can come back and share your knowledge, which is a great way to increase your knowledge by sharing your point of view, or just revisiting and realizing, I'm good at delegating, but I really haven't looked at my delegation process in 5 years. So I think that happens sometimes. People just want they want to take the sexy stuff and they don't want to do the entire process. And so we encourage people to do that entire 12-month process so they can go on that learning journey.
Yeah, I always love the phrase, and it's kind of a silly phrase, as I call it a simple phrase. You don't know what you don't know.
And that's the truth.
And that's the honest truth, especially when it comes to business, leadership, growing yourself as an individual. So that's why, of course, we sit down with the man himself, James Mackiewicz, with owner of Crestcom Nebraska. Now, what in kind of developing these leadership programs out, what goes into choosing the best leadership training programs, and how do you work with future clients to help them figure that part out?
So I'm lucky that, again, not only am I part of a large network of people that are invested in this, but there's also a group of, call them curriculum specialists, that all they do is create the material. Now, going back to your question, as we've got 12 skills, we've got 10 actions of great leaders, we've got this core of what happens, but occasionally the subject matter experts that we use, they rotate out, we have new topics, etc. So our curriculum people will go and start scouring the world of who are the best authors, who are the best keynote speakers. They will ask us for input. Then once they come up with these short lists, then as a group, we figure out, okay, whose material do we like and will be additive to what we're doing? What's the thing? If is there a gap? If we're pulling one of 24 modules out, did that leave a gap? How do we fill that gap? And then once we decide on that, then the curriculum people work with the subject matter expert to put together a 2-hour interactive workshop to bring that material to everybody that's enrolled in the Crestcom.
That's fantastic. I mean, just showing how there's so many pieces of the machine that are always in work for your clients. That's so impressive.
Yeah, and I can't, and that's why I bought into this.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this type of work for 20 years. I have. And I'm good at trivia night. I'm pretty good across the board, but there's no way I could replicate all the materials here, all the subject matter experts, just the backup of the brand. And it's really elevated my ability to help those clients out. And I think this is the second part of that question. Excuse me. How do I bring that to clients? That's a job I have of finding out what are your pain points, what are your managers and leaders dealing with, what are the things keeping you up at night or keeping people from being most productive, and really saying, hey, is what we offer something that could help you get past some of that stuff? And figuring that out together before we enter into any sort of official relationship.
I love that. Again, a one-to-one, having a conversation with somebody is always a great way to start. You are a very approachable person as well. So obviously we like to chat. So
yes,
we were pretty quick to hit it off as well, especially over at the Empower Breakfast. But yeah, do love the network that we all share because fantastic people, fantastic industries that we all can help each other out and help each other grow. Now, some of the things included, you have manager and supervisor training. You kind of touched on this a little bit in the intro here, but for listeners, if we could specify, what's really the difference between the two and how does one training differ from the other?
Sure. So our flagship leader program is the 12-month program.
Sure.
That's you see the binder here. It's 24 courses. It's 12 months. It's strategic thinking, innovation, planning for the future, communication, leading people, the HR stuff, everything. It's more of for the small to medium-sized business owner, the back office manager type of person. Then we have a supervisor program. We don't talk about that a lot because in the end, I think the 12-month programs ideally is the way to go. But supervisor program takes 6 classic modules from the big leader program and puts it together in supervisor program. I say it's for retail and trades.
Gotcha.
Is what I call it. So it's how to deal with difficult people, how to get the most out of your people, how to get more time out of your hour, dealing with stress. 6 modules, right?
Yeah.
Things that are just almost management 101.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, it kind of sounds like a 101 core class.
Yep, and so the people I do that for, if you think about how a manager becomes a manager, right? You're a good position player. Eventually, you've got enough good position players. Dylan, you've been doing this the longest. Congratulations, you're the manager, right? And we think because you're a good salesperson, electrician, operations person, you're going to be a good manager of those people.
That's not always the case.
It certainly isn't. And with that, which is how we get people into the program. But then there are people that are really in the field people. Think of an electrician, right? They're an apprentice, a journeyman, whatever, a master electrician. Now they're working on a big project. They're really good at electrician stuff. They've got a crew of 8 or 10 or 50 electricians beneath them, and no one ever taught them how to manage those people.
Right.
The supervisor program is perfect for that type of, again, frontline manager. We can do that 2 classes a month over 3 months, or just set this up for somebody else. 1 2-hour class a month for 6 months. Again, these are people that are in the field.
Absolutely.
It's tough to pull them out of production sometimes, but it's also important to develop them. So we have the flexibility on the supervisor program to either do it over 3 or 6 months for those frontline people.
Yeah, I definitely love that because I think those are kind of the industries and the workers that sometimes don't get to utilize some of these capabilities and some of these offers that are out there because, again, they're always working, they're always running. They're the guys leading the crews, even though they kind of just tell them what to do and then they don't really know what to do after that.
Yeah.
So
well, do what I'm doing. Well,
that's exactly.
That works for a little bit, but
yeah, they try to do the whole monkey see, monkey do method. Just watch me watch this and do this. And that's not always the right way. So I do love that that's offered for especially those frontline workers like that. That is fantastic. Of course, in our respective industries, though, there always seems to be quite a few of us kind of lingering around. A handful of people around that can offer similar products and similar organizations. So important question for listeners is, how is Crestcom different from any other leadership development trainings that are here?
So probably there are plenty of ways we're all different, but I'll give you 2 keys.
Love it.
One, the subject matter experts. Those people I described, I was talking to the person in the HR industry, and I was showing them the list of subject matter experts. And I'm like, oh, I know that person. They just did a keynote at our national conference. I'm like, yep. And
perfect.
We took their information. We've got a 2-hour workshop to give you access to that person. That's a thing that's tough to replicate.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've gotten that. The other piece of it is if we have this conversation like, man, James, that sounds really good, but how do I know we're going to like this? I will come in and do a complimentary leadership skills workshop. Wow. It's a version of, it takes pieces from a couple different classes. It's some looking at your team, looking at yourself for skills evaluation. We even look at return on investment at the end of that complimentary session. So knowing if you're going to get good value out of that session, you're just going to get that much more out of this.
Well, and that's the thing, is you're going to get good value out of that session, because if you couldn't tell by our conversations right now, and by the camera work, of course, thanks to our stand.
Yes.
But you are a very approachable person. You're very energetic and you're very passionate about what you do. I'd find it hard to believe that you're going to leave a room full of zombies, you know?
I have not been accused of being low energy.
Yeah.
But that's so I brought these for you.
Yeah.
One of the things we do is we take a look at, hey, what is the biggest challenge you face in managing or leading the people that work for you or with you? Okay. And so we start the 2.5, 3 hours. It's a 2.5-hour session. I schedule 3 because once I get you guys talking,
sure,
I don't like to stop the good stuff.
Exactly.
So you go through, hey, these are people, every one of these are the biggest challenge they mentioned. At the end of the time, we say, okay, did we give you something in this workshop that's going to help address that biggest issue? And if you had to put some monetary value to it, and the people do this, I don't do this at all. And even like this that said some.
Yeah.
I just say, look, there are boxes at the bottom of this action plan, because we end every one of our sessions with an action plan. Bottom of this action plan, was this best idea going to have financial impact for you? And in that one, I don't know, were there 8 people? 8 people came up with $225,000 in financial impact off a free session.
Wow.
So now they have to actually go back and do it. If they were in the regular program, I would come in between monthly classes and have a coaching and accountability session. That's how we customize the program.
I love
that. I'm like, okay, Dylan, you said you're going to identify and use the strength and improve thing. Okay.
Oh, well, it's on my list. I'm about to get to it.
Yeah.
That's usually the answer, right?
Yeah, until I walk in the door.
Yeah.
You know I walk in the door, you're going to have that ready to go. I did it yesterday. So the day before, I started getting the emails. Hey, take a look. This person uploaded their action plan into the learning portal. This person uploaded. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to see them tomorrow.
Perfect.
You bet they're going to get it done.
Yep.
And if I got to be teacher, parent, whatever, to make that accountability work, that's okay, because that's where so many programs fail. They don't have, and it's not that the program fails necessarily. It's great information or great learning or what have you. There's no mechanism for accountability.
Right.
And we all have personal lives, professional lives, multiple things. It's easy to take this and set it aside.
Yeah, it's easy to go, you know what? Got a really long day after work today. I just can't get to it today. I'm going to close the book and we'll get to it tomorrow.
And so
then tomorrow becomes the next day.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, you got James on the calendar. You actually come back and do something like this.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of, I know that's like a show not tell. I wasn't sure about the camera work, but at least for you've got a copy.
I'll have Matt, our editor, I'll take some pictures of these, send them to him, and he can put those up on screen while we're talking about those so people can kind of follow along with what we're talking about. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And thanks for handing those in. I never have anybody bring me in anything.
Oh, okay.
I think Dough & Co. is the only person who's brought me something, and it was a little cup of edible cookie dough.
Really?
Yeah, they were fantastic.
Well, that's embarrassing. So I was going to wait to the end.
Oh.
One of the things that I do, which I think is fun personally, is I make bourbon cherries.
Really?
Yep. So,
oh my goodness.
And similar to all this, think about the people on your team, think about your skill set, whatever. And I'll put up a display of this sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got some bourbon, I've got brown sugar, I've got cinnamon sticks, I've got orange bitters, I've got cherries, I've got cherry juice. Take the cherries, drain them out, put them into these jars, take everything else and I boil it up. Mm-hmm. After I boil it, I fill each of these jars. Last time I did, I was doing in batches of 40.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I used to can peppers back in the day.
Okay, so you understand. So then I take that juice, I pour it in here, I seal these things up, and I let them sit for 2 weeks. It's the same thing with all of us. Like every one of those ingredients I described is a good ingredient. Mm-hmm. You can do something with them. They can be separate. It takes a little bit of work to take all that good stuff and put it together and turn something from great to amazing. And so my gift to you is a small jar of bourbon cherries. If you like them, let me know. I'll get you more.
I'm going to love them. I can tell you that already. Thank you so much. That is very, very thoughtful of you, James.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, back into questioning.
Please.
I'd love to keep the listeners' burning attention on Crestcom here, because something else that's worth noting on your website that you guys offer is, and you've mentioned this before, your case studies. Those are free on your website to kind of click into and kind of go check out, which is incredible. First of all, that's just a accessible tool for a small business owner that can just check it out and then spark that interest to call you up and say, hey, James, I was looking on this case study. I think this is what I need.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on what makes you think that that's such an invaluable tool for clients to utilize.
So think about any time you've been looking for a new service. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, a new product, new service. You can see all the fancy ads. You can have great websites. You can have wonderful brochures. In the end, if you're looking at, I don't know, you're looking for a new dentist,
sure,
whatever, you could look at all of that. And if James comes to you and you trust me and I say, hey, you know what? This is my dentist. You got to go talk to him.
I'm probably going to call James a dentist.
Yeah, you probably are. The case studies are similar to that because I can show you material and awards and all the things. But when you take a look at a case study, and you're like, oh, that sounds just like our business. Mm-hmm. It isn't just this commoditized, which I'll argue or not, but whatever, commoditized leadership development stuff.
For sure.
Right? But, that's a business just like ours. Mm-hmm. And so when you find a case study that speaks to you and you realize, because everybody thinks, our business is so different than everybody else.
We're all unique.
Yeah, we're all unique. But everybody in your business is probably 75% the same and then 25% unique. And that's cool. And I love that because there is a core of your business that needs to be the core of your business.
Yep.
When you see that other business that's like you and you realize we have impact in your industry, that speaks volumes for what we do. So that's why I love. That's why we've got the case studies out there. That's why we have all the free resources, and we love that people can, just like me coming in and doing the leadership skills workshop. Check it out. We're an open book.
Yeah.
To be cliche. We want to be lifelong partners. I'm never going to arm twist somebody into working with us. I want you to see everything, experience everything, and then realize, wow, this is cool stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what was missing in business for a few years here. Kind of post-COVID or COVID era, it kind of fell out of business, was just be genuine with people, be honest with people, be open with people, and people will want to be around those people. Yeah. It's a very simple process.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's almost like a light bulb moment, people having this realization again of like, oh yeah, if I'm just genuine about my business and I tell you exactly what I'm doing, it's like you want to work with me.
Yeah, no subterfuge. There it is. I'll show you.
Come on, no sleight of hand?
Yeah,
come on.
I do cherries, not magic tricks, so we're right.
I love that. Now, other free resources that I wanted to touch on while we were on that topic is, of course, you have your little 1-hour webinars that are all kind of booked on there that people can take advantage of. And then you also have ebooks, blogs, and your own podcast that I wanted to make mention of, The Leadership Habit. Now, how can future clients access all these free materials, and where can we find and tune into the show?
Okay, so Leadership Habits, anywhere where you find podcasts. Isn't that what everybody says, right? But seriously, just go to crestcom.com.
Yep.
Across the top, I didn't prep Dylan. I didn't prep you with any of this, right? You just went to the website.
This is me doing my homework. I sent you the questions.
Yeah, you sent me the questions. Which I love the questions. I should read them at some point. But if you go to the website and you just click across the top, like there's a tab that says free resources, right? And it goes through. If you dig in enough, you'll see my personal page, my James Mackiewicz trainer page, which has links to all that stuff. His contact me page. The other thing I would encourage you to do, since you're taking the time, listener, to listen to us on this podcast, you've got my name, you know how to use LinkedIn, connect with me.
Yeah.
I have a group that takes all of this great stuff and posts it on LinkedIn for me regularly.
Yeah.
So it's just constantly in your feed as well. So you'll see great leadership tips, great communication management, sales tips, podcasts, ebooks, any of that stuff.
And it's all free. Hey, did you look at that? That big free letter word that we like? Yeah. No, I love that you guys at Crestcom here just give so much back and empower business owners to really take a hold of, hey, improve yourself by improving your business and do both at the same time, realistically.
Yep.
So I do love that, and I think that it's such a powerful thing to have just at our back door here in Omaha, that all of this vast information, again, right here with the man, James Mackiewicz. So events, of course, I leave this question in here for all businesses because events are happening all the time. Now when we're recording this, it's a little slower. It's the holiday season. But anything coming up in 2025 you'd like to promote or talk about?
So I'll give you two things, one with an A and a B. The first thing is we've got a partnership with the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And, I said that I will come in and do one of these free leadership skills workshops. That's great if you've got a leadership team of, call it 5 or more people. I can come in, I can do a customized one. We looked at one where it was 8 people. Okay.
Yeah.
I've done them for as few as 3, which is too small, and as many as 38, which is too big. And so in between there is the right place. We can talk. Let me know. But the Omaha Chamber has realized that there's a number of small businesses that don't have a leadership team of 5+ people. They don't get access to resources they need. They want stuff from the Chamber, and they've got partners like Crestcom, Nebraska that can help bring that to the market. So once every other month at this point, so think beginning of December, beginning of February, beginning of April, I'm doing a complimentary 3-hour leadership skills workshop down to the Chamber offices. It's, again, I'm saying beginning of the month because depending on lots of things, we move it around. But if you go to the Omaha Chamber and you go to their events, you can see it. We've also opened it up so whether or not you're a Chamber member, you can sign up. Because this is also a good marketing tool for the Chamber. If you're not part of the Chamber, you want to see what the Chamber can offer. Because we're of like mind. Hey, come check out the free stuff. See what we give you for free.
Exactly.
And then know how cool the stuff is once you pay for it.
Yeah, once you're there and you have the access, you can kind of see what you're going to get.
Exactly. So keep an eye out for that. Every other month, the open to the public leadership skills workshop. And again, if you've got a leadership team of 5 or more people, just contact me directly. I'll come in and do a customized one for you.
I like that. And again, check out the Greater Omaha Chamber's website to stay in touch with all those dates. Now, jumping back into Crestcom here, just since this is actually a very interesting industry and a very cool industry that really, if you care about helping people, this is the industry for you, it seems. I'm just very curious, how could somebody listening at home or maybe finding this episode online reach out and maybe pick your brain on how they can start their journey, either joining in with Crestcom or maybe wanting to start their own branch of it?
Yeah, so certainly reach out. Just like as Dylan and I have run into each other, I've said, I'll never turn down an hour-long coffee with somebody.
Right.
Because either I'm going to learn something, you're going to learn something, we're going to keep talking, or we're never going to talk again.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I can spend an hour figuring that out.
Right.
That's okay. So please, let's have a coffee and talk about that. But when I started going down this way, I came from banking world way back in the day. And I realized what I gravitated towards was helping the small business owners, helping the people develop, getting into helping with the training of things. I was drawn that way. There were certain things I realized I didn't like, and there were certain things I realized I did. And so I went and found a job where it was doing that. It was helping coach and train people, where they taught me how to start my journey as a coach and consultant. And so I did that for a long time before, again, just a couple different companies, before buying Crestcom, Nebraska. It's a tough thing to do on your own.
Absolutely.
You've said there are a lot of, as people do this, it's even in town, they come from a corporate background where they've decided to do this on their own. So my other encouragement to people that think, hey, this is something I might want to do, and I'll say this just unilaterally to professionals out there, you've got a job. If you want to improve, you want more responsibility, respect, money, et cetera, do more at your job. And if you want to start getting into this type of work, figure out ways that you can mentor people. Figure out what your development budget is and go take a webinar, a seminar, do a day-long thing, sign up for a Crestcom class, whatever it is. Figure out if you can sharpen that saw and if you've got some aptitude, because you can be taught anything. I can teach you how to use tools, right?
Right.
But you see if you've got an aptitude and a liking for it. As far as working with us, as we continue to grow, anybody that's interested in business development on this stuff, that likes getting in front of businesses and getting people to sign up for our programs, we can always utilize those people. As we add those classes, at some point, I continue to run out of capacity.
Yeah.
And we also need people that will and can facilitate these types of things. So again, long answer to a short question, I am happy to have that conversation with anybody if you think you want to go down this path in some way, shape, or form.
Maybe a long answer to a short question, but a very important answer to that question, because again, like you said, a lot of times when people want to make a transition to something like this, it's usually out of a place of passion. And they want to try to succeed at that, obviously. So
Certainly.
Don't do it alone. Reach out, get some great advice, especially from James here. Because, he's already been there, done that. And you don't want to, he can help you out.
That's how you innovate. Find someone else that's already done the thing you're looking to do and stand on the shoulders of giants. Not that I'm a giant, but I've taken some of the slings and arrows.
Well, hey, we'll call you the giant here in Nebraska myself. So now into Crestcom, I love that there's so many great things that you've pointed out, and you obviously speak from a place of passion yourself when you're talking about what you offer for clients, what you do for clients on a daily basis. I'm very curious if there's a major pride point that you've had thus far with Crestcom, or just kind of a key memory that really speaks out of like, man, that's what I'm here for.
I had somebody in one of our classes, and this is, again, I'll say this across the board, pride point. We don't talk about training. We don't talk about, and I've said classes. You're using my words, but really these are workshops, and I facilitate. I've got great material. I've got great people, but just like anyone you work with, the energy you get is the energy you give, and you also create a safe space for learning. And by the second set of classes, anybody that comes in, because it's carousel, you don't have to start in January and in December. Right. I've got people that graduate out and come in, and so the classes roll. By the second month of anybody being in class, they are amazingly open, and they start sharing very serious business problems and personal issues that they need help with. And if we were just throwing tools at you, we wouldn't get that. We get to a deep level of trust and understanding very quickly, and I credit that for just a lot of things. But that's probably my biggest pride point, because once you're that comfortable and once you can actually tell me what's going on, I can help.
Yeah,
and people get that way very quickly with us.
And I love that, because that just should be a reflection of how the company is ran and who the people are involved with it. I mean, that's just an awesome feel-good moment there, and feel-good company. Of course, we are sitting down with James Mackiewicz, owner of Crestcom, Nebraska, right here in your back door of Omaha. Capitalize on all this great information. Now, my last question here before we dive into the personal questions today. What's something you want listeners to know more about when it either comes to Crestcom or about the leadership or development industry in general?
Figure out what you're looking for.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Again, I customize this only through the coaching sessions that we have. I can tell you exactly what 24 classes you're getting when you sign up. That might be what you're looking for. You might want someone that's going to come in and problem solve and issue identify and come up with planning. And if that's what you want, that's not what we're going to offer.
Sure.
And if you want a defined program, you don't go to a coach that's doing what I just described. So, but you have to understand, you have to define that.
Yeah.
And once you define that, then you can go find the solution, because the solution exists if you can define the problem.
I love that. That's a fantastic piece of advice for any business across the board here. Now, before we wrap up the business side of things and dive into a little personal side of things, is there anything else you'd like the listeners to know when it comes to you or Crestcom?
However you hear me coming across right now, and I won't listen to this because I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
Classic radio.
However you hear this, this is exactly as pushy and as forceful as I am when I'm talking with people. So if you want to reach out about anything, you want to know a little bit more about the program, maybe I want one of these 3-hour things, seriously, just reach out, have the conversation, and know that I'm never going to push somebody into something they don't want to do.
Yeah, you are not a pushy guy by any means. Anything I ever hear about you is nothing but good things. So, fantastic resource to utilize if you are in business and want to grow yourself and your business. Again, James Mackiewicz, owner of Crestcom, Nebraska. Now, wrapping up the business side with a nice little bow here. Now we're into the personal fun stuff. You and I were joking about this off the air. The winter is here. It hurts.
Yes.
I'm a summer child at heart. I am the guy in Hawaiian shirts walking around in khaki shorts and sandals. The air hurts my face in the winter, and I don't like it. But I always ask people if there's always something they look forward to in the wintertime.
So it's funny. Those of you that know me have seen the car that I drive. And those of you that don't know me will now see the car that I drive around Omaha. It's the little red Fiat. It's the only red Fiat in Nebraska because I brought it from another state. My favorite thing about winter is when I know the snow has stopped and I can pull my snow tires off. I just put my snow tires on yesterday. I will drive around on my snow tires for about 3-4 months, whatever that is. All kidding aside, I do like a good dusting of snow. I do love the holidays. I love that we can all just chill out for a couple weeks, regardless of what you do or celebrate or anything else. There just seems to be a chill from about the 3rd week in December to the 1st week in January. And it's nice that we can all just end the year on that note.
I agree.
So I do like that.
I think that's about the only thing I appreciate in winter is that it's just everybody kind of gets a little more charitable, gives back to some great organizations we have here. And then, like you said, everybody relaxes for a little while. And everybody can take a breath.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate that as well. Now, in Omaha, I jokingly and lovingly call us all spoiled because there's so much to do here. There's so many amazing businesses to go patron, so many phenomenal restaurants to go try. I'm curious, what do you consider your Mount Rushmore? If I'm coming in from out of town, what do I got to go see?
Okay. So are we talking food or are we talking stuff?
You can talk anything.
Okay.
Restaurants, stuff.
So I think, and I'll stay away from a couple of the big ones because you all know those. But think about Durham Museum, Jocelyn Sack. Like, we've got some amazing just cultural staples that people from out of town will never know about or go to unless we are good ambassadors of the city. So think about that when you've got these out-of-towners coming in. Yeah, you're going to go to the zoo, and I love the zoo. We all number one zoo in the country. But everybody's heard of the zoo.
Right.
No one from outside of Omaha has heard of the Durham Museum. Right. So take them to the Durham, take them out to Sac, take them to Johnson, take them to the Children's Museum. Most of these things are free or donation or low cost to get into. High value, low cost. So think about that stuff. Food-wise, you got to hit Drover or Grotz, right?
Okay, on my list. I've never had either one, actually.
Let me know when you want to go do a lunch. We'll do that.
Yeah, good.
Both just iconic Omaha steakhouses, just great. And there are plenty of other ones too, so I apologize for whoever I'm slighting.
Oh, no slights. It's all fun here.
Obviously, you have to have a runza.
Yeah.
If you're a pizza person, Godfather's is based here. Go get some Godfather's. And this is you talk about what I want people to know about Crestcom, right? Crestcom, it's a franchise, and some people bristle when I say that. I'm like, then I say, I license the material. The reason Godfather's has such amazing pizza, and they have such amazing pizza around the entire country, is because they've come up with a process and they figured out how to do it. And every place you go into does the same great Godfather's pizza. Yep. Same thing with what we do. I get to have a different flavor of pizza. Yeah. Something else that's overlooked food-wise. Mouth of the South.
I love Mouth of the South.
Okay. It has a great vibe, great Louisiana/New Orleans food, solid bar, wonderful service. It's just amazing. So that'd be another kind of off the
beaten path to go to that one.
Off the beaten path. So
and I've actually grown kind of fond of the old market as well. Just kind of that area in general. You got Brickway down that way. You've got the Artist Cooperative Gallery down that way as well. I think that with everything kind of getting revamped down there, it's so worth a holiday visit down that way because there's so many great things.
Well, and you say that like the Artist Cooperative thing. Yeah, think about like the hot shops.
Oh yeah, hot shops as well.
Hot shops. Oh my gosh, plan to spend an entire day walking through, because it's another artist cooperative where a lot of artists are working on site and they've got their own little shops, and they do such, as a guy who's not an art guy, everything in there amazes me.
Yeah.
Because like, how do you even think of doing this, let alone figure out how to make this thing?
Yeah.
And they're, again, like so many people and places downtown, they're a wonderful partner of the community.
Absolutely. And I think that it's our responsibility to keep talking about them so people give back towards that community side and really just capitalize on what all we have here in Omaha while we've got it. Yeah. I love it. Now, in Omaha, again, since we have so much, I like to ask this as kind of the last question here on the show is, what's something you wish more people knew about or supported more here in Omaha?
Getting a little self-serving here. I did see this question because I did glance at the question.
Well,
and as much as I might seem like I'm not prepared, I'm probably prepared.
I was thinking you're plenty prepared.
Here, I live and breathe this stuff. So here's the thing: in Omaha, Nebraska, in general, but in Omaha, we're a huge networking group. Mm-hmm. We see each other at networking events. There's the Empower Breakfast. There's the weekly things. There are monthly things, chamber things, et cetera, et cetera. That's great for business and those types of relationships. The thing that gets overlooked are the civic and service organizations. Yeah. I'm a proud member of Rotary, and I got invited by a friend, and I didn't know what it was, and he said, just come have a lunch and hang out. And you get a good speaker, you get some good people. The reason I joined Rotary, and there are 9 in the Omaha.
I was going to say, I think we have quite a few.
Yeah, so you can find a time or a place if you want to get involved. Each one, though, does service projects that affect local people, national people, international people. And that's what I was missing, was I've got this great network, I've got this great business, I do all these things that I think are pretty wonderful. I didn't have a focus on how to give back. And when my buddy introduced me to Rotary, it gave me that focus. So that's my ask, whether it's Rotary or Optimists or Kiwanis or your local church, if that's what you want to be involved in. Mm-hmm. Think about, are you missing that piece of getting involved?
Right.
And if you're missing that piece, find out what's out there. Talk to your friends. I went to, and this is something that's shame on me, I went to visit another Rotary group. Mm-hmm. I knew half a dozen people in there, and we had never talked that we were both. Wow. We were each part of Rotary. And so I started putting a pin on my jacket. But when you start asking about that stuff, like, hey, I want to get more involved, people will tell you what they're involved with. They'll tell you about, or think about a charity that you like, or think about a board that you want to be involved. Again, I say Rotary because that's where it's heading.
Absolutely.
Back on me. But there are so many ways to get involved. And if you don't have that piece of your, you got professional networking, personal life. If you're missing that service or that civic piece, fill in that piece.
I love that, James. And I think that's the best piece of advice we can leave people off on the show with. So, one last time, sitting down with owner of Crestcom, Nebraska, James Mackiewicz. Do you want to leave anything else for the listeners at home before we wrap up?
Please like, subscribe, and share.
Thank you. Of course, thank you, listeners, for taking the time to listen to today's episode of the UIA Trusted Partners podcast. I always have to remember to turn back to the camera here because we'll have more next time.